Greetings, all you Jackson Jennets out there. Thank you for tuning in to your Daily Dose of Donkey with Ginger. Only have one co-host here today as Laskers is off doing Lasker things. But Gingy, hit me up with what you saw from Week 7.
Woo! Mutant Gingy in the house, folks. Coming off a Steelers bye. I'm hungry for some Steelers football this weekend, Donkey. Coming off of Week 7, though, we've got, from what I see, somewhat, not necessarily of a changing of the guard, because we're not going to jump on the bandwagon right away, but the Tennessee Titans had a dominating win over the Kansas City Chiefs, in my opinion. That was one of the things that stuck out for me. And, of course...
Chiefs fans learning what happens when you pay a quarterback, can we say? Because that defense looks the worst it's ever looked, and the offensive players around Patty over there aren't as good as they've been before.
And again, while discussing somewhat of a minor changing of the guard for a Week 7, the Bengals putting a shellacking on the Baltimore Ravens in a big AFC North matchup.
I'm not gonna call out my co-host here, but every time I said I love the way the Bengals are building a team, someone was like, "Oh, they're Cincinnati." You having a feeling that you might want to change your stance a little bit yet?
Listen, I never had a stance like that, Donkey. I was the one who convinced you last week that was going to be a game. From what I hear, it was all Lamar Jackson. Well, 50% passing didn't get it done last week, and you know who's been calling that for a minute.
That's true, but I was the only one on that Cincy bandwagon last year. I was like, you watch that team with Burrow if they add him some weapons, because that kid is for real.
Well, Burrow...
I know there's a lot of people who are still doubting, and he's in Cincinnati, so he doesn't get all the hype of everyone else, but...
And listen, I am still doubting. He's still a second-year guy, but what he does have, Donkey, is he has a weapon that he's very familiar and comfortable with in Jamar Chase. And any other team that's backed with a running back like Joe Mixon in a running game like since he's putting together, they're putting together, not a one-trick pony on offense. And, if Joe Burrow can stay consistent, then, yeah, they will be a force to be reckoned with.
How'd you like watching Thursday night and AJ Green by giving zero effort, and I mean zero effort, costing the only undefeated team, Arizona, their undefeated namesake? The Green Bay Packers, good team to play, but what the heck is AJ Green doing there? Did he forget he gets paid to play football?
I just like seeing a good Thursday night game.
True. It was definitely a good game, and it was... I don't know. I enjoy watching James Conner score touchdowns. I still wish he was here in Pittsburgh. I still don't understand why we got rid of him to keep Benny Snell, but whatever, because they cost literally about the same in the scheme of things, but that's neither here nor there. Anything else before we get into AFC North Week 8, Gingy?
Not too much other than week 7 really being the week of blowouts. 38-3, Buccaneers, Bears at 41-17, 27-3. Yeah, pretty one-sided week. I'm hoping to see some close games this week. We've already got a banger on Thursday night, so let's hope for more of that.
Yeah, we do. Anyone's curious, we're going to do our little AFC North look ahead right now. That means we're only talking one other game because Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Baltimore on a bye. That means we got Cincy at the Jets. Laskers texted in his picks for this one. He's seeing the Bengals 30-3. He gave a score and everything. I agree with him. I think it's the Bengals by 2 scores over the Jets. I mean, the Jets are a hapless team who had to trade for Joe Flacco because Wilson got hurt and is going to miss a few weeks. And the Bengals look like maybe they're one of the class teams of the AFC, but every time we say that team goes and gets slacked. So what are you seeing?
Bengals by 10.
Bengals by 10. I can dig that absolutely.
The Jets are horrible.
And with
I mean, there's just no other way to say it.
Hey, didn't they beat the Titans? Aren't they the team that beat the Titans? One of them.
Every team in the AFC has at least 2 losses at this point. They've all laid a couple stinkers. Hell, the Steelers beat the Bills.
How did that team beat the Titans?
It's true. I don't know.
Yeah, but the Steelers are 3-3, and a lot of people, yourself included, are still talking us up as a really legit not only playoff contender, but talking us up as a division contender. So look, you can't be putting the Steelers in the same breath with the way you've talked them up. That's all I'm saying. Because the Jets are clearly, we're playing for a top 10 draft pick.
That's why you got to play the games week to week. On paper, Donkey, these ain't stacking up very well. The second half of this season is going to be a continuing slaughter fest for the Steelers. We're going to have matchups each week that are going to be increasingly more difficult.
I hear you. My counterpoint is, we got the Bears-Vikings, which are two mediocre teams we should have a chance against. Who know, the Vikings are kind of trending upwards. But we do have Detroit left on the schedule, Gingy. There is still Detroit. There's still a cakewalk, which means we're going to lose that game, right? That's how it works?
I don't like that kind of talk, Donkey. Playing down the competition for the usual.
We going to go to overtime and have a crazy coin flip? Is that what's going to happen?
No. Jerome Bettis. No.
Okay. Enough sidetrack for us. Let's get into the Week 8 game that you're watching a Madden last year representation of. Steelers, Browns. Did you see this injury report for Cleveland? Like, is there a player not on this injury report?
Laundry
like, seriously,
list.
Did you see it? Was it like 13 players?
A laundry list, Donkey, of players for the Browns. Some key people, too.
Yeah, that's not even including the guys like Chris Hubbard and Kareem Hunt and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah who are already on IR. But you have other guys who are going to miss this game, like Denzel Ward. That's their best cornerback out. You have LeCount, the safety, out. You have Peoples-Jones, their third receiver, out of the game already. And you have other guys like Clowney and McKinley and Jackson, who I believe didn't practice at all, or they had one practice and it was limited this week. I mean, this Browns team's beat up. You have Baker out there hurt. You have Nick Chubb coming off an injury. You have both Beckham and, why can't I think of the other guy's name now? Landry on the injury list this week. Everything about this game says the Steelers are healthier, more rested. Pittsburgh, right?
Should be Pittsburgh going to win, but again, we got a couple guys on the injury report too. A couple guys who are allegedly rumored, Donkey, possible trade bait here before the November 2nd deadline. We've got Ingram and Ebron on the out for tomorrow.
Wasn't it like 3 months ago he was a kid in the candy shop so happy to be joining the Steelers?
He's not very.
My oh my.
Yeah.
He must have been told some things that didn't come true.
Yeah. I guess so, Donkey, because he's not happy with that playing time, apparently. That's what the word is.
Yeah, I see that. And that is the one injury, but the only other injury out there is your favorite whipping boy, Eric Ebron. So I know you're going to say that has to be addition by subtraction, right?
Well, I think it might have something to do with the big performance last week from my X Factor, Donkey. We're talking about Freiermuth on the offense with a career performance, 7. Last time he was out there, not last week, but before the bye, 7 receptions. He can really, potentially step up as a number 1 guy in this role, making the, Ebron dispensable and able to unload for value at this point.
If by value you mean a 7th rounder, like who's gonna pay something for Ebron? Because 1, you have to pick up his salary, and 2, you're talking a guy whose production is being way overshadowed in a league now where every team uses the tight end, where you're saying a breakout huge performance for a guy who had less than 70 receiving yards. Like, that's how bad our tight end room has been, where 70 yards is considered a breakout. Like, I'm going to be honest with you here. Yeah, Freiermuth had his best game. I'm not arguing that. But making it sound like, man, he went out there and he balled. He had what is becoming essentially the league average tight end game. And we're acting like it's a career maker because that's how bad Ebron's been the last 2 years.
He's a rook, and you got to start somewhere. And, yeah, Ebron really hasn't performed up to expectations. And, coming off of guys like Heath Miller and Vance McDonald,
Say what you want about McDonald. He was not very consistent. The numbers weren't great, but highlight reel plays are something worthwhile. And hey, I know you're hating on Ebron, but didn't he have a rushing touchdown last week?
He did have a rushing touchdown last week. We get to see
Not
him
last week, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, on the board before the bye. You're totally right. And I'm not trying to put Heath Miller and Vance McDonald in the same breath, Donkey, but for a tight end run that, Ebron had 2 weeks ago, I didn't see Vance McDonald make as bad of mistakes. Drops. There were some, and he's not a Hall of Famer by any means, like Heath is going to be, in my opinion, hopefully. But, yeah, not living up to expectation. Melvin Ingram, Ebron probably moving out of town.
That would worry me a lot because that means you're going to see Chishaka or whatever the heck his name is. I still haven't learned his name. The guy who took over for Jameer Jones. And Taco Charlton. Yeah, no thank you. If this team wants to play this year as being competitive, I personally think those are not two guys you can get rid of. You have to find a way to make them happy because you're going to run into a problem. Remember when we let LeGarrette Blount go and then all of a sudden we lost Bell and had nothing? That's what would happen if we let our depth players go when they make one mistake or one cry. And I hope the Steelers have learned from that because if they're trying to be competitive, sometimes it's not about making people happy. It's about putting the best team you can out there. Tell them, hey, suck it up. You're going to be a backup for a while. Like, that's what you signed a contract to be. That's what you're going to do. I hope the Steelers have learned from that. I hope we do not move on from them unless it's really good value. And unless we're trying to move on with this whole season, in which case, hey, all I'm saying is Tua's getting pissed off at Miami. Miami doesn't want to see him. If we're going to play for next year, let's trade for Tua and see if we can get, I don't know, a top 10 value quarterback because his team's given up on him. That's all I'm saying. If we're going to throw in the towel, then get me a quarterback that's not Ben Roethlisberger. Because if we're going to play for next year, I sure as hell don't want Ben under center.
I'm playing for this week, Donkey. We got a big AFC North matchup before we're playing for next year.
We do. Offensive line. Our good news for Steelers. Banner should be eligible to play actually this week. I know they brought him, but made him inactive.
Let's get some push.
So if Banner starts at right tackle, does that move Chucks back to left tackle? Because, God, I hope Dan Moore doesn't start over Chucks. And honestly, I hope Banner starts because he can't be worse than those two have been this year. So maybe we should start Banner and Joe Haig just because Haig actually is graded out okay in his 20-ish snaps this year. Also, Anthony McFarland's coming back, so maybe we see a little less. And in this case, I think less will be more out of our big Najee. I'm just saying. Do you see McFarland getting a good go on the offense this week?
I'd like to see McFarland maybe touch it 5-7 times, maybe catch one or two out of the backfield, alleviate 8 to 10 touches from Najee's workload. Yeah, that'd be great if we can get the production from him. Neither Benny Snell or McFarland have really provided a ton of production at the backup position there.
True. What do you see happening for us on offense this week? What's going to be some keys going in? What should we look for? And then you can end it off with who your X factor will be.
Keys going in, Donkey. I think it is going to be a slugfest, and I really need to see. I want to see with what we talked about on the injury report. LeCount and Ward, Green. I think there's going to be some opportunities in that Brown secondary for the Steelers to exploit in the passing game. So this week, I'm looking for Ben Roethlisberger to have a performance. It's his time of season, Donkey. We got a little bit of a slow start. All right, this might be one of them games I'm thinking that he's going to turn it up, and we're gonna have a 3 touchdown performance. That's what we're hoping. I think it's possible with the injuries in the secondary that they're seeing there.
They're saying Ben's your key, huh?
I think this week, Donkey, I'm going to put it on Ben Roethlisberger's shoulders.
Well, I'll get into mine, but first, Laskers did give me his X factors. He says Deontay Johnson, and let's be honest, if there's one dude who's been balling out this year and proving he deserves the snaps, it's Deontay. He's been our best receiver. Honestly, he might have been our best receiver for the past 2 years if you look at everything. Maybe the past 3. But really, Laskers is looking for him to come out and have a game. be a huge one. Same idea, passing game's going to be the factor. I differ from you guys. I think this is the type of game where I don't want to see Ben handle it. Ben's a gunslinger. I want to see a 55-45 run to pass because I don't want Ben to try to make up for the playoffs, which is what I'm afraid he will do, and I'm afraid the result is going to be a bad one because I think Ben is going to try to make up for what he did before, and you know I hate bulletin board material, and I know Ben said it jokingly, but saying something like, hey, at least finally Cleveland has someone who has more wins than me as a starting quarterback for their stadium, like, you don't do that when Myles Garrett's going to come and eat your lunch, okay? I don't like it. I don't like it when the other team has elite pass rushers like Myles Garrett. Like, who knows if Clowney's going to play? And I think that might be the biggest thing. To me, the biggest X factor is who is actually playing for the Cleveland Browns on defense. Because
good point.
If there's 3 linemen who are questionable, if all of them miss the game, I think the Steelers have a huge advantage. If all 3 of them play at least 3/4 of their standard, I think it's going to be a long day for the Steelers. I think the X factor is this offensive line, whoever is going to be playing at the tackles. I think the Steelers need to run the ball, like I said, 55-45. I feel you need to get 4 yards of carry, and Ben has to be sacked 2 times or less in order for this to be the thing. I really feel this game's going to come down to how our O-line plays against their defensive line, because we need to establish the run, give Ben time to pass, and we need to hit plays over the top if we want to have a chance to win. That's the way I see it, but I have a bad feeling that's not the way it's going to turn out. I have a feeling we're going to do a lot of these little quick screens and things like that. But I really, really want this week to be the run-focused, attack the Browns' defensive line, because the best way to slow down a pass rusher is to do what, Gingy?
Go right at them.
Yep, and make them play the run. Exactly. So I think the offensive line is the biggest one, and I think limiting the sacks. I have a bad feeling that this is going to be one of those games that you're going to be wondering if Ben gets up from. But with that, we have another whole side of the football to talk about. Browns offense led by, again, an injury list full of players versus Steelers defense that is outside of Melvin Ingram healthy? What are you seeing?
I'm feeling like Baker Mayfield is taking his career into his own hands, putting himself out there with TJ Watt. You're talking about elite pass rushers on the Brown side. Don't forget we got a couple of our own elite pass rushers on our side that, you know, if Baker's not 100% donkey,
okay, Cam.
If he falls on that shoulder, if he falls on that shoulder and TJ just rock bottoms him out of nowhere, are you ever going to get that shoulder back in socket?
The better question I have for you is, based off the last 2 weeks, do the Browns do anything but run the ball every play?
And that donkey is going to lead to where my X factor is going to go, if you're ready for that.
I'm always ready.
Oh, yeah. I think it's going to be big Cam Hayward in the middle.
By the way, ding, ding, ding. Laskers agrees with you, but give us your reasoning.
I believe that it's going to be big Cam Hayward in the middle because that's where all the action is going to be happening. If we're going to be getting pressure on the quarterback, I think it's going to be from the middle out. And I think that if they're going to be running the football, the Browns traditionally like to do it between the tackles, and it's going to be busy in there. It's going to be between Cam Hayward and Devin Bush clogging up holes.
I really hope it doesn't fall to any of our middle linebackers based off the way they've played so far this year. Neither here nor there. I see the biggest X factor for the Steelers being they have to make a splash play. And there's one guy I really want to call out because I think he's getting overlooked as a guy who's having, honestly, a terrible season. And I know people can be like, PFF ratings don't matter, but he's literally one of the worst defensive players rated by PFF. He's a guy who we traded a first-round pick because of his ability to sway a game. But the thing is, people aren't fearing him. People aren't throwing away from him. He's not making plays. And when you're a deep center field type of player, you have to make plays. And if you haven't figured out who I'm talking about yet, it's Minkah Fitzpatrick. Because this dude, through 6 games, is playing terrible football. I mean, yeah, he's tackling better than he has in the past, but he's not there to tackle. He's there to make splash plays, and say what you want. He's been invisible for 6 weeks, Gingy. Like, what is missing in Minka's game?
It's that, like you said, it's that spark. It's that out of nowhere. It's that ball hawk. Always seeing him around the ball. Always being a part of the play.
Now, I have a question for you, because I know I saw it in one of the games that I can't remember. Is Minka's lack of play due to our inability to have cornerbacks cover? Because I have seen plenty of plays where Minka is actually just straight up doubling the X receiver or doubling the Y receiver to cover for either if there's a speedy guy on Joe Hayden or if there's a big-time receiver on the other side, whether it be Pierre or Sutton playing over there. You see Minka just drop down and instantly play there. And the guy you're seeing more around the ball because he's dropping out of the box play is Terrell Edmonds. So are we seeing Minka misused as just an extra double guy because our corners can't cover? Or is this more of Minka is just not playing up to standard?
That's a good question. I mean, I could definitely see that utilization and a necessity being a real thing. I mean, do you really want James Pierre one-on-one and up somebody's number two, like a legit $9 million guy, $9 million a year guy?
I don't want James Pierre on the field, although he has played better of late. But
I saw it.
If that's the case that you don't,
excuse me.
if the Steelers. I will actually name him because he had 2 good weeks, decent weeks in a row, so I'll use his name, but he still will be he who shall not be named on text messages forever. But the question then becomes, what are the Steelers doing letting Nelson go if you don't have faith in these guys? Like, you let these guys come, you have to have faith in them, because look at our turnovers per game compared now to before. Is this just a continuation of the end of last year where we weren't doing turnovers? Is this the defense is different because of the personnel? I'm really starting to wonder what's up with this defense because it's not producing anywhere near the levels it did before. And I've tried to point out before that I think this defense last year was a little hyped up because we played bad teams and made bad teams look bad. The bigger problem is this defense, if we're going to win this year, needs to be elite. That means they need to be elite against good teams, because if you look at our schedule, we don't play bad teams. We play at one bad team and then a couple mediocre teams and then a bunch of good teams. And we can't hope that every team is missing their quarterback like Seattle. And even when Seattle is missing their quarterback, we barely beat them. Like, if it wasn't for superhuman TJ Watt, who knows what Geno would have done to us in overtime. This is the Browns game. This is a game we need. What the hell does this defense need to do to show up?
Same thing we always do, Donkey. Rush that passer. What do you always talk about? Good in Pittsburgh land? Is that Baker Mayfield being injured here? I mean, I don't know. I mean, here's the thing for me. Okay, Baker out there this week is still kind of a mystery to me. I mean, this is a team that allegedly had, long-term season hopes, and he's going to put himself out there on a Week 7 game. I mean, I understand it's a big AFC North game, but I think it's a big risk for their team, and we're going to have to see whether or not he's trying to do too much, It wouldn't be out of the question for me that he's trying to bite off more than he could chew.
I think that Baker's playing shows you that the Browns' game plan is to be run heavy, and I think that's the worst news as a Steelers fan you could hear. Because let's be honest, Seattle's not good at running the football, and they were without their top 2 running backs. What did they do to us in the second half?
Big gashes.
Denver, thank God they were down 10 points early, because did you see what they did to us with the running game?
Oh, man.
I am so scared if our offense doesn't start off good next week and we let the Browns stay and run heavy packages, I'm afraid what that will do. Because our defense has wore out before when we controlled the clock. Imagine what happens if the other team actually runs the ball in the first quarter, which for some reason both Denver and Seattle didn't go run heavy till the second half. Like, imagine if a team comes run heavy at us early. I am actually concerned that Baker's starting because I think that tells you what the Browns want to do. And if you're listening, Steelers, I expect to see T Boogie in the box on the first snap and not out of the box until a receiver beats someone over the top. Because it's going to start with stopping the run. I still think Minka's the X factor because he needs to step up and make a splash play. And I think he's going to be the lone safety in the back because we will be trying to stop the run. My biggest concern is I watched what that Denver defense is pretty good, say what you want. I watched what some random street dude for the Browns did against them. Here's another fun thing. Guess what the Browns have back this week for the first time all year? Both of their starting tackles, both Conklin and Wills, are healthy. Healthy-ish. As healthy as they have been. So you're talking, the Browns finally have both of their offensive tackles. And say what you want, Conklin dominated TJ Watt twice last year. That makes me nervous.
Yeah, we're going to need pressure from TJ for sure. We always need pressure to help out that secondary from this defense, but against a banged-up quarterback, I think he can get some work done.
I hope you're right. Like I said, my head and my heart are telling me one thing, and that's I should feel confident about the Steelers here because the Browns are hurt. The Browns aren't playing great football. The Steelers are well rested. The Steelers are as healthy as they've been all year. So my head is like, it's showing Pittsburgh. My heart, obviously my heart's saying it's showing Pittsburgh. But something in my gut is just telling me this isn't right, you know? And I did this before. I did it earlier this year with Cincinnati, and I went on the Steelers bandwagon because man, my gut's not right. My gut's stupid. My gut feeling last year was everyone's hating on the Steelers. Ben's going to show up in the playoffs and throw. By the way, I was right, though. 500 yards and like 5 touchies. I said that. He did it. Okay? We didn't win the game. A little different. But my gut was kind of right, I guess you could say. It was definitely right this year on the Cincy game earlier. But Gingy, I think we did a good job covering it. Is there anything we missed here? Any other area that's going to change the game?
Nothing major, Donkey. I don't think. I'm ready to give you a prediction.
I'm going to give you a prediction first. Lasker says 26-24 Browns, but I don't know if that means he actually thinks the Steelers are going to win because, you know, he's still on the I'm cursing the Steelers if I pick them thing. So, but he's got the Browns by 2. Gingy, what are you looking at?
I'm going to back up that high-performance passing game with a score. I'm looking at a slugfest. 27-20. I mean, it's still going to be a touchdown game, but it's going to be one of them ones where, you know, the Browns are still knocking on that final drive trying to get it done, but the Steelers are going to pull them out in the clutch and 27-20.
So another offensive explosion for your Pittsburgh Steelers.
Let's go. Offensive explosions, baby. Mock me more. Mock me more. Wait until Benny's putting on that patent pump, and he's gonna fake out the cameraman. He's gonna fake out Donkey Nation, and let's go.
The last time I saw Ben try to put on a pump, he fumbled the football. Not here nor there. I wasn't mocking. I was just, you were saying a slugfest, but then we've talked about how 27 points is an explosion for this offense. I just wanted it out there that you have called it the explosion for this team. Okay, there was no mocking.
What I mean by a slugfest,
honest conversation,
is you're still going to see really chippy, nasty AFC football this week. That's what I mean by a slugfest. Okay, it's not going to be pretty.
Like I said, my head and heart want to say Steelers, but my gut is telling me you can't do it. And you know what? I let my gut lead the way. All the time. That's why I ask it where to go for food. I don't ask my head what I should eat because then I'd eat healthy and that would just suck. Ooh. So you know what my gut's saying? My gut's saying 2017 Browns, Big Ben with 3 turnovers.
Oof. Let's hope not.
I don't know why. I just feel like I feel like this is the time this team starts showing some kinks in the armor, like actual legit kinks. Like Because you look at our other losses, you can say, oh, they're all versus teams that honestly probably should have beat us. Whether it be Vegas, whether it be the Bengals now knowing what we know. And, oh my gosh, who did we lose in the third game?
Packers.
Oh, the damn cheeseheads. Yeah, I forgot Aaron Rodgers discount double-checked us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. My gut's not feeling it this week. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully you're right. Hopefully we get to a bigger tie in our prediction things. All y'all out there, feel free to judge us. But that covers the game. You know what that means. It's shout-out time. Gingy.
Shout out this week to Thursday Night Football. They've been laying stinkers traditionally for years and couple throughout this season already, but my gosh, Donkey, what a good Thursday night game. Came right down to the end between two NFC teams that I think are going to be making it. You're probably going to be seeing them at the end, in my opinion. Probably both those teams somewhere in a conference or a division and or conference championship.
I won't even say that because the NFC has 5 teams that are really good, and I'm not trying to pick between any of them. My lord.
Yeah.
I like that. It was the first fake football game that was a good football game. I hate Thursday Night Football because these players, these coaches all learn how to do it on a regular week, and then you don't give them any time to prep for a game. I think it's stupid. I think fake football is stupid, but I get the process. Money. I'm not dumb. Understand. My shout out has to go, and I've called him out on this for the past 2.5 years. Whoever the hell made Ben Roethlisberger practice on Wednesday, you get a shout out. Even though it was only limited participation, that dude never shows up on a Wednesday. And honestly, that kind of is what led me to my gut thinking, something's wrong here. Ben's practicing on a Wednesday, everything's going the way it should be, something's going to turn out wrong. But, hey, shout out. Whoever got it done, appreciate it. And with that, it's time to we will let you know where you can reach us. I'm the Viking Donkey on Xbox, Viking_Donkey on Twitch and Twitter. Go ahead and leave me a comment on your Daily Dose of Donkey with Ginger. We'll get back to you. Let us know what you like, what you don't like. We're going to try to segment this a little better so that maybe when I learn how to use the YouTube good, I can break it down, and if you don't like a certain part, you can just skip it. You're like, hey, that's the Donkey Rant section. Screw that shit. I hear you. I understand. We're going to try to figure it out, okay? Folks, I appreciate y'all for tuning in. I really do. With that, I'll leave it over to Gingy to tell you what's up and, sign us off.
And why would you ever want to fast forward through the Donkey Rant section? Those are typically beautiful on most occasions. But however, this is Mutant Gingy coming at you. We on Xbox Live. We hanging out. We talking football. We watching football. Coming off a bye week, we're all ramped up here in Steelers Nation. Big AFC North battle. It's going to be a snot knocker, folks. So let's go. Wave them if you got them. Donk Nation, Steelers Nation. Let's go.